Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Wiger, Area State Senator. Today I'm going to visit with Guy Wicklander. Guy has been a lifelong resident of our area. He served our country. He also was a state employee working in the prisons as a guard. Almost lost his life in that service as well. And we're going to talk about those things and want to welcome you to our show.
Good morning, Chuck.
Now, Guy, first tell us about growing up. You grew up in Maplewood, and your parents were here before that, and your grandparents. So, growing up in Maplewood.
Okay. I grew up in an area that is now known as the Maplewood City Campus. Our house was actually where the Maplewood Community Center is now.
Okay.
That was my grandparents' 60-acre dairy farm.
Okay, so, White Bear Avenue, County Road B area.
Gateway Trail.
Gateway, yep.
Hazel Street, that whole area.
Yep.
So we had a pretty...
Your family owned that.
Right.
Yeah, so that was a Wicklander real estate.
In fact, when my dad sold his house for when they were going to build the community center, one of the stipulations is that pond that they built there is named Wicklander Pond.
Yes.
That never was a pond. That was a cornfield that he plowed with a horse as a young man.
Okay.
And so he didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. But as long as they went ahead and did that, he moved on.
Okay.
Went to Gladstone School, Cross Lutheran Church, and then North St. Paul High School. John Glenn was brand new.
Yes.
And then North St. Paul High School.
Wonderful. Maybe one memory of North High that you'd like to share.
Well, you know, things were disruptive in those days, and they're...
You graduated in what year?
Well, 1971.
Yes. And I know you knew my brother. And
I knew your brother, Don.
Used to hang with him.
In fact, I had been at your parents' house during grade school and stuff. They did things alphabetically, so we always had the same classes and that kind of thing. And so I've been on the Wigers for a long time. But in high school, I drove GTOs. Mm-hmm. So I always had, my wife had 6 sisters, so I always had a car full of girls. And,
okay.
And I suppose that would be a significant high school event.
Okay. And you enlisted in the service?
My wife and I had a child real young, so I enlisted in the Army.
And your wife's name?
Patricia.
Patricia. So
Patty McMahon. They lived on Jarvis and Hazelwood in Maplewood.
Okay. How old were you at that point? When you became a father?
Oh, I was 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you started early.
Started early.
Okay.
While going to high school, I worked full-time nights on 36th and English, a company called Torseth.
Sure.
Screen printing.
Yes.
Anything that came from Detroit with a decal on it, the big Firebird hoods, whatever, we made those.
Yes.
I actually made those.
Okay.
But I got to my senior year in high school.
Yes.
And life was moving too slow for me.
Too slow. Okay.
Yeah. And in my family, my grandfather was an officer in the Merchant Marines.
Yep.
My father was in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy during World War II.
In fact, I think we have a picture showing some of them, right?
Yes.
And Grandpa came here from Sweden, right?
This is my grandfather from Sweden. Came over by shoveling coal on a ship.
And that's Anton.
Anton Tony Wicklander was known as the mayor of County Road B at one time by the Maplewood City Council. Okay. This is my father over here, and then his brother, my uncle. My father, Arthur Wicklander, and my uncle, Ivor Wicklander. Okay. They were all operating engineers. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was the chief operating engineer at Ramsey County Home for 47 years. Okay. And both my dad and my uncle worked at Ham's Brewery as operating engineers.
Okay. And so the military service?
So that was, military service was a family tradition. It was kind of, when you became of age, you went in the military. Okay. And
and there you are.
Right,
that's
there. Me at the MacV compound in Saigon.
Okay. And what year then you entered the service? We're in Vietnam yet?
Yes. So I actually left during my senior year in high school.
Okay.
I graduated from basic training the same day, June 11th, 1971, as my high school class did.
Okay.
I then went on to Fort Rucker, Alabama, where I was a helicopter mechanic training.
Yep.
Even back in those days, Minnesota had a really good education system. When I took the tests when I enlisted, I could be anything I wanted, so I took aircraft maintenance. Well, aircraft maintenance meant helicopters in Vietnam.
Yes.
And
Showed a lot about your talent, though, with that mechanical skill.
right. And, I always tinkered with the cars and stuff,
Yep.
and go-karts, mini bikes, that growing up.
Yep.
So basically it was a farm there, so tractors, what have you.
Okay, so you've got your specialty, your training, and you're off.
Yeah, well, they started graduated from school. I graduated in top 3 of my class, so I went in April, and by September I was a specialist 4th class.
Okay.
And that was because you had to be a E4 and above in order to crew the aircraft. So they're cutting orders, Republic of, but like school, they did things alphabetically. So they got down to the last 20 guys, and they needed MPs at Fort Rucker. So they OJT'd me in the MPs while I waited for my orders to go to Vietnam.
Okay.
And after a few months of that, my wife and daughter were living with me in a trailer down there, and I was on guard duty at the gate in the middle of the night, and a tornado came through. That tornado killed 4 people in our trailer court, put 82 people in the hospital, and I was out in the middle of it on this gate duty. Shortly after that happened, I was then transferred to Fort Eustis, Virginia for aircraft maintenance. The Army had a twin-engine aircraft, turboprop, so I was transferred there, temporary duty en route to Vietnam. And when I finished that, then I went to Vietnam.
Okay.
And so...
How'd Patty and your daughter, how were they doing?
Well, I was on duty.
Yep.
They were in the trailer. We live, and she was awoken, of course, from all this commotion and everything, and she knew enough not to light a match because of all the gas. Destroyed 119 trailers.
Yep.
And she couldn't find a flashlight. I had another MP, a sergeant who had actually been to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And he woke up with his bed on top of him. He knew my daughter and my wife were there alone, and he knew I was on duty, so he went down and found them, and then brought them to the gate where I was working. Because I had called the desk sergeant and asked to be relieved. I was in a panic, and they couldn't relieve me because it had also destroyed buildings on post. And destroyed like 19 helicopters. Yeah. And so there was no way to get, and I just, I thought about walking away, but because the trailer park was just up the road less than a mile, but.
Yeah. So you're off to Vietnam? Second.
Off to Vietnam, yep. And that's one thing people ask me about my war experience, and I tell them this, it's, I was in a war, and I also worked in a prison. People have an image or an impression of what that is, but there's no way I can explain that to you. You have to be there. Yeah.
So when did your duty end?
I came back with the last of the combat troops. I was in Tan Son Nhut Air Base the morning of the ceasefire in 1973, And we got rocketed.
Yeah.
He killed 2 people and injured 4 others.
Yeah.
But Walter Cronkite didn't report that one. So I came home the March of '73 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came back, and I know you've been very active in service organizations ever since. And we'll talk about some of the programs to work with vets and their families. But you went then to eventually work for the state of Minnesota.
What had happened is the company I was working for, I returned there. Because of the law at the time, when you went off to the military,
Yes.
they held your job till you got back.
Yes.
And I continued to work my way up the ladder there into middle management. Along came the 90s.
Yep.
One company bought out another, and they let middle management go based on your salary package.
Okay. And by the way, you're living in Maplewood.
Living in Maplewood my whole life.
Yes. So.
When my grandparents passed, I bought their house, and I still live in that house.
Yes. Not far from City Hall. So yeah.
Nope. City Hall's my backyard.
Yes. Okay. So with the change with your employer, then another opportunity came.
Well, an opportunity came with the state of Minnesota to run their graphic shop at Oak Park Heights Prison.
Yep.
Which perfectly fit for me and is what I was doing, only it was with civilians.
Yes.
And I figured I'd never get laid off.
Yeah, well, having tasted that.
And that's one thing, working in a prison, inmates are people.
Yep.
There's good and bad in everybody, but you find out there are some that are just plain evil.
Yeah.
And when you work with them, you get to know who they are.
Yeah.
I worked at Oak Park Heights until December 3rd, 1999. An inmate tried to kill me, and he would have, except for another inmate intervened. I was unconscious and unable to defend myself. That inmate distracted the attacker, and then the guy that stepped in, he was stabbed 22 times.
Yeah.
So he basically took the bullet for me.
And you almost died.
Almost died.
This has obviously been shared on the media, the picture in the Star Tribune, I believe, showing that. Maybe you'd like to just show us. You don't have to change your hair right now, but
Well, they were asking me to try and show them my wounds. I actually have dents in my skull where I was hit by the wrench. Yeah. As near as the doctors could tell, I was hit 6 to 8 times from behind with full force. As the attacker was intent on killing me.
Yeah.
And the situation was at the state at the time was trying to save money, and they pulled my floor officer out of the shop, so I was basically in an environment with 27 maximum security inmates by myself.
Yeah.
And they had tools and weapons.
Well, thank goodness you survived, and and you've continued to be active in an advocacy role, pointing out the need for prison safety, that expectation, and so you've been down here at the Capitol, testifying, sharing concerns on that.
Well, not yet, but that's in the works.
Yeah. We've had a conversation though before on it, but I think there'll be a new round of conversations now.
I'm a Christian, okay, and I believe things happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. I knew Joe Gaum personally. I mentored him and trained him, And
Joe, who died in the line of duty.
Officer Gom, yes. And I have nothing to gain from this other than I care for people.
Yeah.
We know, going into that job, we know it's a dangerous job.
Mm-hmm.
It does not have to be stupid dangerous.
Yeah.
Common sense has got to prevail.
Yeah.
If I don't have somebody watching my back, then I should not be there.
Yeah.
That's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
So because of what happened to me, this is my incentive to speak out, to let them know that this is nothing new.
Yes.
It was 19 years ago yesterday my situation happened.
Yeah. So we'll continue the conversation. Hopefully additional measures will be taken, and I know that the governor and others are very aware. Yes, there's some things in the budget and some other things that need to be done.
I certainly would like an opportunity to talk to him, because he
Yes.
seems like a common sense kind of guy.
Yes.
Common sense needs to prevail.
Yeah. Let's hope that can be arranged.
Yeah.
You're very active on veterans issues, and you have the shirt in
Yes.
memory of our fallen brothers. I often see you, Guy, at veteran ceremonies,
Yes.
at area events, and we have information about the St. Paul Vets Center, etc. But tell us about the importance of remembering vets and their families when they return home.
Well, when I returned home, I went through a period of readjustment. My family didn't know me. I didn't know me. I was involved in self-destructive behaviors, abusing alcohol and marijuana, and trying to self-medicate myself. And of course, being a Vietnam veteran, we didn't want anything to do with the VA system. But I learned of this place on University in 280 in St. Paul, the Vet Center, Vets for Vets. It was two veterans that was.
Just going to show a T-shirt with their phone number on, but the St. Paul Vet Center, Vets for Vets.
Vets for Vets.
Okay.
Those guys, they were a psychiatrist and a psychologist. You could go in and talk to them, and because they were veterans, you didn't have to explain a lot. They understood. They had been there. And from that counseling and therapy, I've been sober since June 23rd, 1980.
Great.
And
Great.
I'm still involved with group sessions and therapy at the Vet Center today. And they are truly a lifesaver. Any veteran, any spouse of a veteran, any family member, free of charge, totally confidential, and it's not the VA. If you're having difficulties with the VA, they will help you with that as well.
Good. The adjustment issues, employment, anger, trauma, parenting, drinking, depression, mental health, grief, counseling's available. It's confidential.
Yes.
But they're there to help.
Yes.
No appointment necessary for a consultation. It's free. It's confidential, and it's a helpline. Now there's one overall number I see here: 1-800-273-8255. Press 1.
That's the Veterans Crisis Line.
Yep. And I'm going to say it again.
First call for help.
And that might be a friend or someone that knows a veteran,
Right.
then wanting to reach out. 1-800-273-8255, press 1. And the phone number again, for the local vet resource center, and there's other places
There's
too.
other.
But 651-644-4022. And there's a website, and various group organizations and the service organizations that you're a part of. They're all out there to remember to never, ever forget
Yes.
when you come home.
What will happen to a guy in my... I look back now, and when I was a young guy like that, white knuckling it, trying to make that readjustment on my own,
Yep.
trying to find a help somewhere.
Yep.
I think of those guys now that they go directly to the VA and they're turned away because they will. I have a friend who was shot and blown up in Iraq, and they denied him twice. It's just the way they do things.
Yeah.
So this service here, you go there and you'll get the help you need.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Well,
And they will help you dealing with the VA and how to process those claims and so forth.
Well, thank you for that testimonial, for sharing about your personal life and what you've dealt with in service to country and service to state. How's your family doing?
Great. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We got. I'm still married to Patty.
Okay. So how many years would that be?
We're coming up on 48.
Okay.
And if this one don't work out, never again.
Yeah, I think
But
the odds are with you.
we have 5 children and 11 grandchildren, and the 5th generation of Wicklanders celebrate the holidays at Grandpa and Grandma Wicklander's homestead, there in Maplewood.
Well, I'm sure Grandpa looks down and is very proud. Good. Well, Guy, I want to thank you for sharing your memories, your advice to others, and any additional comments you'd like to share for anyone that's watching. Whether it's about life or just your own life.
Well, regardless of the situation, and there's always a reason for everything, and just see it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
See it through. Things happen. See it through. Get help too.
Get help.
If a person needs it, and we shared some numbers and opportunities, and if more needs to be done, then let's address that.
This item here is a lock,
gun lock.
A gun lock.
Yes.
Free at any vet center.
Okay.
Walk in, they'll give you one.
Okay. Among the many things that are available, so thank you for sharing that as well. And we shared the numbers before for getting assistance. And again, I want to thank you for serving our country, serving our state, the great impact that the Wicklander family coming over from Sweden and staying here and continuing on. Thank you very much, Guy.
Well, I know my wife would want to thank you for sponsoring the bill for the 30% disability because I'm 40%.
Yeah.
So her property taxes will be taken care of, and I'm sure she'll still be at that same address.
Thanks. We want you to stay in your home, and we're very appreciative. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, viewers. Support our vets. Support the guards that are in the prisons defending our own security as a public. And if you want to get involved more on any of these issues, let organizations know. Let me know if I can be of help. My cell phone is 651-770-0283. Thank you.